She's fantastic.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Okay, we'll be more natural.
What's the first thing you do when you wake up in Stepanovan?
Oh, I have to look at my phone for like 20 minutes and just catch up on all the things that happened the previous night.
What's the best part about living with your host family?
Oh, just like interacting with them every day. My host parents are great. Both of them are very funny, and I love them very much.
How would you describe your host parents in 3 words?
Oh, kind, giving, and caring.
What's one Armenian dish your host parents make that you could eat every day?
Oh, it's not an Armenian dish, but my host mom makes rice pilaf with like chicken and carrots and some like lots of pepper. It's really good. I can eat that every day.
What's one thing in your host family's house that feels like home to you?
They have a couch bench outside the front door, and whenever I see that, I just know that I'm home.
What's one Armenian tradition you didn't expect to love?
The raw chicken on the carpet, you mean?
I know this is rapid fire, but I have to think about it, and I think it's New Year's, the New Year's celebration. I wasn't prepared for it last year, but this year I know what I'm getting into, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
What's the funniest misunderstanding you've had with your host family?
Oh,
I got permission to use your oath. That was my
one day my host father taught me the word for melon, which is sef. It's like the orange melon. And then I had my Armenian lesson with Rima online later, and she asked me what I ate that day, and I said, "Oh, I sort kerelem tsech," and she was like, "You ate mud?" And I'm like, "Oh, I pronounced that word wrong. Okay." But I don't know, in terms of interactions with my host family, it's all been just great.
What's your favorite thing to do on a quiet evening at home?
Every day at 8 p.m. we drink tea together, and that's when I know it's like, okay, when I get to tea time, that's when I get to start winding down and relaxing for the rest of the day.
What's one thing you've picked up from your host parents' daily routine?
Oh, I think drinking tea every morning. We drink tea at 8 a.m. in the morning for breakfast, and then we drink it again at 8 p.m. at night before we go to bed.
What inspired you to join the Peace Corps?
I had a lot of trouble finding a job, and the Peace Corps was hiring, so I said, why not?
What's the most rewarding moment of your Peace Corps journey so far?
Oh, the most rewarding moment. I don't know. I've recently started a new club with. It's all women between their 30s and 40s, and they're all displaced people from Nagorno-Karabakh, and that's been really interesting because just their experiences and their journey, and they want to learn English, and they're all really driven and motivated, and we just have a lot of fun in that club. So I think that's the thing I've been enjoying the most.
What's the hardest Armenian word your students have tried to teach you?
It's like it's the one for television remotes. You know what I'm talking about? It's like something Varman or whatever. It's really long. That's why everyone says pult, which is the Russian word.
What's the funniest thing you've heard a student say in class?
Oh, it wasn't something that someone said, but they had a t-shirt on, or it was like a sweater, and it had some word or phrase on it. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like kind of rude in like an American sense. It was like, I think it was like Buddy's Hard or something, and I was like, man, I don't know if, if I had a child, I don't know if I would allow them to wear that, but no.
What's one classroom moment that made you laugh out loud?
I forgot a child's name, and I called him Ivan the entire time. And I was like staring at him, I was like, Ivan, you want to come to the board? And he's just like, who is Ivan? And then my counterpart was like, my kid's name is Vladimir. And I was like, oh no, okay. So I feel like I lost some credibility there, but it made me, looking back on it, was very funny.
How do you spend your Sundays at the education center?
What?
How do you spend your Sundays at the center, the Stepanovan
On
initiative?
Sunday, I just stay at home and don't do anything.
It's not on Sundays, it's on Saturdays?
I have two clubs, one on Thursday and one on Saturday.
Okay.
So how do I spend my Saturdays?
How do you spend your Saturdays?
I go there for an hour and do a club. On Saturdays, I meet kids mainly from like 7th grade to 11th grade. So, you know, late middle school, middle high school. And we do like a club together in the afternoon.
If you weren't teaching, what other Peace Corps role would you want?
I think I would have really enjoyed youth development, YD. I think I would have been really good at that.
What's the best compliment a student has given you?
One of my students, this was like 2 months in, and they gave me a handwritten note that said, "You're the best teacher I've ever had." And I'm like, kid, what have I done in your classroom? I go right on the chalkboard. How can I be the best teacher? And I think it's because I don't yell at them.
What's one teaching technique you think works wonders?
Hello. What's one teaching technique I think works wonders? I don't really know if I have an answer for that.
How do you keep your students engaged during lessons?
Well, that's actually something that has been very challenging this year, especially with my older students. With the younger kids, it's like we can play like a game on the board if the energy is going down or something. But with the older kids, it's very difficult, and I still don't have an answer for that.
What's the best way to spend a weekend in Stepanovan?
Oh, well, we have a lot of nice nature in Stepanovan. So there's some caves that are very cool. We have a museum. You can walk up a little bit on the mountain. If you like getting out and about, there's lots of things to do in Stepanovan. In the winter, it's a little cold, but...
What's one spot in Stepanovan you think everyone should visit?
Oh, the Alia is really nice. It's like an artificial, like, pedestrian path, but with, like, trees and things lining it. It's really nice.
What's your favorite Armenian dish to order at a restaurant?
See, I never order Armenian dishes at restaurants because I live with a host family, so I eat Armenian dishes every day. So when I go to a restaurant, I'm like, I want something a little bit less normal.
What's one Armenian snack you're totally addicted to?
Totally addicted to an Armenian snack? Oh, they make these little cakes, and they're called like anthills or something. Have you?
I think so.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really like those. I don't eat them very much, but when I do, they're gone.
What's one word in Armenian that's fun to say?
I know this is supposed to be rapid fire, but what's one Armenian word that's fun to say? I don't know.
Okay.
Yesim. I don't know.
What's one tradition or festival in Armenia that's blown you away?
Oh, I think I said this earlier, but New Year's is really fun. I think the Genocide Memorial Remembrance Day on the 24th of April, I think. That was really cool. I went to the memorial last year, and it was just very moving to see all these people with the flowers bringing it to the memorial.
What's the most surprising thing about life in Armenia?
The most surprising thing, I guess when I first got here, I didn't know what to expect. And then, that first week, I'm seeing people like tapping their phones on payment terminals. I'm like, I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't this. That was surprising to see.
What's one thing you wish you could bring from State College to Stepanovan?
Oh, Sheets, the gas station, because boy, I miss those hot dogs.
What's one thing you'd bring back from Stepanovan to State College?
Oh well, I have that idea already. I think I've already purchased it. Where it's like every Armenian house has like a little banner, and that's by like the front door. And it's like a picture of Jesus or something, or like a monastery, but they have little tiny ones, and it says like Asvats Orni Ice Mekina, which means God bless this car. And I think having that in my car in America would be a great conversation starter. And maybe I can save money on insurance if I know God has blessed my vehicle personally.
What was your favorite part of visiting Tbilisi in July 2023?
Oh, I got to spend a lot of time with my current girlfriend, Camden Thorngate. We walked around the city. Everyone wanted to go shopping at this mall, and we were like, no, we want to go to this flea market. And we walked around, and we found that there was a statue of Ronald Reagan in a random park there, and that was just it was just a really fun day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's one Georgian dish or drink you still think about?
Oh, okay. So there's a restaurant in Yerevan called Kavkazskaya Plenitsa, which means Prisoner of the Caucasus, and it's like a themed family restaurant based on this Soviet film from like the 70s. And they have a lot of like Armenian and Georgian food, and they have on the appetizer menu, they have the khinkali, the Georgian dumplings, but you can get them fried and filled with cheese. So it's like kind of like a Caucasian mozzarella stick, and I could eat like 6 of them in one go. They're so good.
What inspired you to take a trip to Cairo in 2024?
Well, my Camden and I, we decided we're in the neighborhood. Tickets aren't that expensive, and it's not that far from Yerevan. And we always wanted to see the pyramids, so we went and then just had a great time seeing all the sights and meeting all sorts of interesting people.
What's one moment from Cairo that felt straight out of a movie?
So, one day we took a day trip to Alexandria. We were staying in Cairo, and we got in a tour group, and we were bused to Alexandria, spent the day in Alexandria, and then came back. And during that day in Alexandria, Camden lost her wallet. And, you know, it's Egypt, right? There's so many people there. We're like, okay, we don't know if we're gonna get this wallet back. And it wasn't so much the fact that, like, you know, there was like maybe like $30 US in there, but also like all of her bank cards and her identification cards. That was really bad. So we were like, oh my gosh, when we get back to Armenia, there's so many hoops we'll have to jump through. But I had been talking to the tour guide all the rest of that day and into the morning, because he said that he would go back because she lost it in front of the mosque in Alexandria, the big one. So he said, okay, tomorrow morning I will go there and I'll ask the police guards and see if anybody has found it. And I'm waiting, I'm texting him all throughout the morning into the early afternoon, and then around like I think 1 or 2 in the afternoon he just texted me a picture of the wallet, and he's like, I found it, I'm giving it to the driver for this current tour group, and then he'll get it back to you at the end of the day. So we're eating a nice dinner at around like 6 in the evening, and then I get a phone call from a number I don't recognize, and it's the driver, and he's like, here, I have the wallet for you. So there was 24 hours where we didn't know what happened to the wallet, but we found it, and there was no money in it, but all the cards were still there, which was really important. So that, I think, one of the most cinematic elements of that trip. I was looking around where to go because I'm getting chilly.
We can go back inside.
Yeah, let's go back inside. We'll go to the gamer room.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have the craft sausage patties.
Gotcha.
What's one historical site in Egypt that left you speechless?
So in terms of sights, the pyramids, of course, very impressive, and the fact that the Sphinx was a lot bigger than I thought. I think the thing that like blew me away the most, they have this museum. It's called the Museum of Egyptian Civilization, and they have all of the mummies there. Like Ramses II was there, and like Tutmos III. That entire bloodline, they just have all the mummies there, like in this room. And it was just like so interesting seeing like the actual bodies of people that like I've read about in history books that are like thousands of years old. And the fact that you can like see all the details in their face and all their teeth and all their hair and everything. It was just like incredible to see.
What's your favorite memory from South Africa?
Oh, we're going back in time here. My favorite memory. Something I look fondly on is we were at this person's house. Like they had us over for dinner. It was myself and the group of students that I was with, and there were like 3 of us like sitting on a couch with this person's like 5-year-old child, and we were just watching like Paw Patrol. and I was like, I'm like literally in the middle of nowhere. I can look outside and see like thatched roof huts and things, and we're just watching like an American television show. And I don't know, maybe that's not like particularly impressive. Maybe you wanted me to say, oh, when I saw a lion on safari or something. But no, it's just like little small moments like that are the ones that are really like, they really stick with me. Yeah.
If you could live anywhere you've traveled, where would it be?
Oh, anywhere I've traveled. I think in terms of pure aesthetics, I think Luxembourg is a really like, actually incredibly beautiful city. But in terms of things to do, it's quite boring. Japan was very interesting. I really liked Cape Town. Cape Town as well. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't made my decision yet. I'll come to that in like 10 years.
What's the weirdest food you've ever tried abroad?
The weirdest food I've tried abroad. I don't know if I would call it weird, but like definitely the strangers would probably like wildebeest.
Wow.
It was very gamey, and I don't recommend it unless you're like really, really, really tough meat. Yeah.
What's one destination still on your travel bucket list?
Okay, I think Buenos Aires.
Buenos Aires.
Yeah, somewhere in South America. I haven't been to South America yet, and I think Argentina is a really interesting place. I would like to see it with my own eyes.
How much was I allowed to use?
What's the first thing you pack for every trip?
The first thing I pack for every trip, underwear. Underwear. I always pack like 2 or 3 extra because you never know what's going to happen. Yeah.
What's the best thing about spending time with other Peace Corps volunteers?
So I don't get to spend a lot of time with other volunteers very often. So I always enjoy just seeing how everyone's doing because I mean the last time we hung out was a couple months ago. I think so.
Yeah.
Your hair was a bit shorter back then.
Yeah.
So.
What's one unforgettable memory with your fellow volunteers?
So during PST, you remember we had those like self-guided tour day.
Yes.
So I went to Ashtarak with Cameron and George, and it's like a holiday touristy kind of town. There's a lot of sights to see, except when we were there, there was literally nothing open. So we were like, oh, we saw the churches, it's great, let's go find a place to eat. And we're just walking around, and there's like no one on the streets. Everything is closed, and it like starts raining. And the only thing that was open was like this little like shawarma stall that's like a literal hole in the wall. And I think even he was like closing up, and he saw us, and we were so wet. And he was like, all right, come on in, what do you guys want? And I just think of that as very funny. Because it was like 28 days later, we're walking around the city, and there's no one there.
Right.
What's up?
What's one inside joke you have with other volunteers?
Oh, there's a lot. I don't know if I can like think up of one on the spot. Is Cameron over there?
No, Camden's making some nuts.
That's a lot of nuts!
It's a lot of nuts.
Okay, in terms of in-jokes, I don't know.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right.
We talk about the office needs to have like a scream room in the volunteer center.
What's the best place to hang out with other volunteers?
Oh. I don't know if there's like a specific place, but I would say wherever all the volunteers are at. It could be in an Airbnb like we're in now. It could be, if we're in Yerevan, maybe we're all staying at different places, but if we just meet up and hang out, yeah.
What's the funniest thing your friends from Ireland said about Armenia?
I don't know if they said anything particularly funny about Armenia, but I'm very glad that they came and they had a good time and they got to meet some other volunteers and, you know, made some new friendships, I think, and that was definitely the most worthwhile thing, I think, for me.
What's one cultural tradition you introduced to your Irish friends?
I don't know if I've introduced anything to the country of Ireland.
It was Yasmin.
I don't know. We met because it was like just before COVID. We were on the same program, and we would just meet up once a week to play poker. And then through that, we became good friends. Yeah.
What's your favorite way to welcome visitors to Stepanovan?
Oh, definitely just take them to my host family's house. And it was very funny. I remember one day you texted me, "What's the best place to eat in Stepanovan?" And I was like, oh, "My host family's house? I don't know. Like, just come over." Like,
yeah, I remember that. What drew you to international relations as a field of study?
So I did my bachelor's in geography at Penn State, and I took some. There were some classes required for that major, and they were called like political geography and stuff like that. So that I found more interesting than like. If I say geography, people are like, oh, you probably know all the state capitals, don't you? And I'm like, well, no, that's not really what geography is about. But I really found like the sort of the element of countries interacting with each other and why they do that more interesting. So I decided to go for a master's in that field, so I could really focus down on it.
I'm gonna close the door.
Here, and we'll use that as a perfect segue.
There we go.
Into sleeping, not sleeping, sitting down. I've got my nice slides on. Yeah.
What's the coolest thing What's the coolest thing you learned while studying geography?
Coolest thing I learned studying geography, the fact that geography can literally be whatever you want it to be. It's the core idea of it is how place affects behavior. So you could say like, why do some countries act the way they do? Maybe it could be because of resources or lack of access to resources. You could look at economies, you know, like the concept of the resource curse. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but you have some countries that have very vast mineral wealth. Like the Democratic Republic of the Congo has so much cobalt, and I think lithium as well. But they have a lot of like natural resources. But it's difficult for them to effectively like leverage that into a functioning state, and that of course is due to the history of colonialism on the continent. But other countries as well have vast natural resources, and it's difficult for them to leverage that into a stable state. Yeah.
How did your studies prepare you for Peace Corps service?
I mean, I knew where Armenia was on a map, and I knew like about its more recent history as a Soviet republic, and then post 1991 it was an independent state, and of course they had various wars in the 90s and then 2020. But that was like kind of it really. I didn't know much about it, so.
What's your proudest accomplishment during university?
My proudest accomplishment during university. I think the thing I'm most proud of was that study abroad program in South Africa. That was really cool, a really great opportunity, and I got to do a little bit of everything. Every week or two we had like a different module, and it was one week it was living on a national park in the desert, helping a local university do a population census of like lizards, which was really cool. I wouldn't have been able to do something like that otherwise. I don't think that's something I want to do as a career, but I'm really happy that I had the opportunity to do it. So yeah, I don't know if I would call that like an accomplishment. It's like, it was just something like really interesting to me, and I'm very happy that I did it.
What's the most surprising thing about working at Best Western?
Did you like find my resume? The most surprising thing is the fact that there are middle-aged people who pay taxes and vote, and they act like children. Like, you would not believe the kind. I'm sure if whoever is watching this has worked in customer service, like, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Any skill from your front desk job that you still use today?
Yeah. You know, on the front desk job, I wasn't allowed to sit down, so I stood around a lot, and in the classroom, I'm always standing up. But no, also, it's like, I think customer service, it is a really important skill for people to have. You know, it could be working at a hotel or at a restaurant or something, but just working in a customer service position, you're interacting with literally the entire population. Like, there's not like a specific like group of people that you're working with. So it's just, it's great practice, just like talking to people, you know, being friendly, you know, being kind. And I try to take that with me wherever I go. I know some of the other volunteers, it drives them crazy where I'm sitting in a minibus and I'm just like making small talk with everybody. And I think that's just, that front desk job has made me more confident just talking to random people. Yeah.
What's the funniest request a hotel guest ever made?
I don't know if I would say this is funny. Maybe in a tragic kind of way, but there was one weekend where we were really busy, and the entire hotel was booked. And whenever you make a reservation with like a third-party website like Expedia or Booking.com, at least at the hotel I worked at, the front desk agent was not... You couldn't change anything about the reservation because it was made through somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So this party had this reservation for a room, and the hotel is full. It's full. So they're like... I gave them their room keys, they went to the room, they came back, and they're like... Well, one of them was like, this is unacceptable. This shower, it was like a handicap accessible shower. And that was the only thing different about the room compared to a normal room. It was a handicap accessible shower. And they were like kind of having, I don't want to say like a total like complete meltdown about the fact that like, oh, you could also like hold the shower head and move it around. But there also was a cradle where the shower head could just like stay there. And they were like, it's unacceptable. And I was like, I'm sorry. I cannot put you in a different room because there are no rooms. And a lot of times people think like, oh, if I ask really nicely, they'll just like pull a room out of the back office and they'll have a different room for it. I was like, no, we're like totally booked up. And I was like, you either are staying in this room or you are finding a different hotel to stay at because there's no other room. And that is one of the interactions I think about the most, because it was just like, from my perspective, almost like an absurd thing to get mad over, especially now as a Peace Corps volunteer, where it's like, you go to places with like squat toilets, or like in other countries you don't have running water and you have like a bucket, and the fact that you have this like adult, this middle-aged person like just like having a meltdown over a different kind of shower in their room that's just as good as the other ones, even better because you could like move it around. I don't know, maybe that's not funny, but it is like funny to me in a sense. Yeah.
What's your favorite video game of all time?
Oh, The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind.
What's your go-to hero in Elder Scrolls?
Like,
Or maybe I should say...
Were you expecting me to say Overwatch or something? Like,
What's your go-to hero in Overwatch?
oh, I play a lot of Brigitte.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite RPG universe to explore?
My favorite RPG universe to explore? Ooh. That is a difficult question, because I very much enjoy the game of Morrowind. I don't know if I would say that's my favorite universe to explore, because it's an older game and some of the mechanics are kind of not for everybody. Yeah, I don't know. I like playing all RPGs. It just sort of depends on what mood I'm in. Sometimes I'm in an Elder Scrolls mood, sometimes I'm in a cyberpunk mood, you know. When Baldur's Gate 3 came out last year, I played a lot of that, but I think I'm waiting till I get back to finish it, because Act 3 is a bit tough on my laptop.
What's the first video game you ever played?
Lego Island. We had a pirated copy that my cousins in the Netherlands had burned, and they had like sent it over in a package, and I was like 5, and like playing Lego Island, I was like, I can like walk around this island and like do different things. Like, oh, it was mind blowing.
What's one video game moment you'll never forget?
One video game moment I'll never forget. Probably when I beat Mass Effect 3 for the first time. And I don't know if you remember that, but there was a big controversy about people not liking the ending. And I was in high school, and like I really enjoyed Mass Effects 1 and 2. So like when the third one came out, I was like, I'm going through it in like 3 days. And when I beat it, I just remember sitting there being like, that's it? Like, I understand why people were upset. And I was like, I just remember sitting there in the chair, I was like, wow, all of those like experiences and fun times in this like three game trilogy. And I was like, oh, that was it? Okay, I guess. So yeah, I will never forget that. Maybe it's not a happy video game memory, but I'm like, man.
If you could design your own video game, what would it be about?
Ooh, okay. I think if I was designing a video game, I think it would be multiplayer focused. There is a first-person shooter called PlanetSide 2, and it's very ambitious, and I think lots of elements of it don't work particularly well. But I think if I was a trillionaire and I could make my own video game studio or whatever, I think I would like to take a stab at a similar kind of like it's a first person shooter, but it's also like a massively multiplayer online game. It's not like Battlefield where you're in a map with like 64 players. You're in a map with 300 players per team, and like flying around and doing stuff. And I think that is a market that no other games are in, and I think it would be cool.
What's your go-to gaming snack?
Okay. I think in America, it's gotta be those little pretzels, but with the peanut butter in them.
Yeah.
They're like the little pillows. Here, it's like those little tiny bags of Cheetos that are like 150 drum. I think that's my go-to gaming snack here.
What's your favorite sport to watch live?
I'm gonna say football, but that's soccer to the Americans. Yeah. And I've gone to a couple games here in Armenia, and it's always been fun.
What's the most exciting game you've ever attended?
Oh, probably like the friendly between Armenia and Kazakhstan here. Because the other game I saw was Latvia versus Armenia, and Armenia beat them like 4-2. But the friendly with Kazakhstan, it was like 2-1, and it was just like really awesome just being there. And we were in a section with a whole bunch of other Armenian people, and they probably thought, you know, oh, these guys are like Russians or they live in Kazakhstan or something. But when we started like chanting in Armenian and like yelling in Armenian to the players, and people like noticed and they wanted to like take pictures with us and stuff. It was just like really fun and a great atmosphere.
If you could attend any sporting event in the world, what would it be?
Any sporting event in the world, I would really like to see either like a World Cup game, like for soccer, or like some sort of like cool Olympic event. I don't know.
What's one sport you'd like to try?
One sport I'd like to try. That's interesting, because I was asked a similar question earlier today. That's what I'd like to try. I don't know. I don't know if there's a sport I'd like to try. I like playing tennis and volleyball. Those are my favorite sports to play. And I don't know if I'd want to try anyone else, because I feel like I've played the ones that I know I'd like.
What's one thing people are always surprised to learn about you?
I don't know. These are tough questions. I feel like I just have to say I don't know, because I mean, I'm sure everyone that I've interacted with, there's some element of me that has surprised them, but I don't know what it is.
What's one goal you're working toward this year?
Oh, definitely like actually like starting a career, getting that on track, because like COS is coming up pretty soon, and I want to know what I need to be doing for like the next 2 to 5 years.
What's your proudest accomplishment so far?
Like in the 29 years of my existence, or just in Peace Corps?
In Peace Corps.
In Peace Corps, my proudest accomplishment. I think the thing that I'm most happy about is that like, for my first year I had one counterpart, and now I have a new counterpart, and just sort of like that transition. And my new counterpart has never worked with Peace Corps before, so on one hand, yes, it could be kind of annoying that it's like, oh, I have to sort of start from square one, but I'm looking at it from the perspective of like, oh, I get to start from square one, and like the mistakes I made in the first year, I know how to avoid those, and then seeing more, doing more things that I want to do, and I'm more confident in asking to do them and things like that. So, yeah.
What's the best advice you've ever received during your Peace Corps service?
I don't know, but I would just say like if someone is watching this who doesn't know me personally, which would be shocking, is curious about the Peace Corps, just be open for anything. You know, never like. Nothing is ever really like set in stone, especially in like schedules, and things will change on a dime, and so you just have to be ready for that. And when it happens, you know, you can either complain about it or you can just like do something about it. And I think just going with the flow and making the best of every situation is what you got to do.
What's one thing you'd tell your younger self?
I like, maybe this is just like corny, but like just be yourself. I don't know. There was a period of time a couple years back where I was just like, I'm just not I'm not gonna care and like just do whatever I think is right, and that has like actually helped me out a lot. Where it's like in the past I'd be like, no, I don't really want to do this, I don't know, and then now if someone asks me, hey, you wanna go bowling tomorrow night, I'll be like, yeah, sure. You wanna go to this monastery? Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, as long as like no one gets hurt, or anything, you know, and you're not breaking any rules,
Right.
Because the Peace Corps has a lot of rules, but yeah, just be open for anything and just be yourself.
Any favorite quote or saying that you like to share?
No, none are coming to mind. Sorry, I think the mac and cheese is hitting hard.
What's one book or movie that's had a big impact on you?
So there's a book I read when I was a kid, and it's by an author called Nancy Farmer, and she does a lot of like young adult novels and things. And it's called The Ear, the Eye, and the Arm, and it's about. It takes place in like a near future kind of thing where it's like kind of like a Blade Runner-esque universe, except it's set in Harare, Zimbabwe. And I read that as like a 10-year-old, or maybe I was 11, and I was just like reading about like this like country I'd never heard of before, and it's like this like futuristic take on it. And I think that honestly might be where like my interest in international relations started, because as a kid growing up in America, everything is very America focused, and then I was reading this book about this country, and they go a little bit into the history of Zimbabwe, and I was like, oh yeah, there's other countries, and they all have their own histories, and some of those histories are quite long. And I think that kind of might be where it started. I mean, recommending an adult to read it would be like kind of lame, because it's a book designed for like 12-year-olds, but I enjoyed it very much. I haven't read it in a while, but I might go back to it.
If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be?
Probably Bobby Kennedy.
Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah, he seemed like a really sound guy, and I just like to have him sit down and have him lunch with him and just talk and see what he was really like.
And last question, what are your plans for the rest of the evening?
I know there is some desire from other volunteers to do a little bit of light gaming. So I've got all my cables and things with me, so we'll get that set up in the basement. And then,
is it the Nintendo?
Yeah, I have a Nintendo, and I have my laptop. So if
Okay.
you want to play like Jackbox games or something, you know, we can make it work.
Well, thank you so much, Ray, for partaking in this.
Yeah,
I
of
appreciate
course.
it.